the younger people of today, they're more cultured and they want to learn about their history. Whereas go back 5-10 years ago, it wasn't such a big thing. It was, now it's kind of like, geez, I want to know where it actually came from. Like it's even the ancestry thing that's happening over here. It's pretty much similar, but it's happening more and more because it's more accessible, right? So that's kind of driving this kind of stuff, and that's why I think this kind of team of a kind of restaurant will work, and because people are they are coming over, they are looking for little bits of history, and not just so much Irish people that are here, but like expats, that may have heard all the stories about Ireland, have never got there, and they come in here and experience the food,
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Conversation with a Chef. I'm Jo Ritty, and I love sharing with you the conversations I get to have with talented and passionate chefs. It's the backstory, if you will, to the food they're putting out. I begin today by acknowledging the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation, traditional custodians of the unceded land where this conversation takes place, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I sat down with James Gallagher at Enbarr on a lovely autumn afternoon. We talked about mythology, Irish foodways and the arc of his life in this building, a pub he's worked in for years and has now come full circle to own. Once we'd finished talking, I was lucky enough to eat the food we'd been discussing. I have not stopped thinking about the soda bread since, or the boxty, dishes that felt like a deliciously warm hug. The food at Enbarr draws on Irish tradition, preservation and storytelling, filtered through experience and restraint, and elevated without losing its soul. I'm already planning my return. It's lovely to be here at Enbarr, James. Thank you. And I've been looking at your Instagram stories and so on, and I feel like storytelling is such a big part of Enbarr, and even the name has a great story behind it.
Yeah, Enbarr, it's a mythological horse. It's back in Ireland, from Ireland. It's Enbarr is Irish word for horse as well. How we got there was because we had obviously we were close to the race course, and we were kind of on that kind of theme. Then what happened was when we were doing the renovation, we were knocked back a few walls. We came across the stairs, and there was like a horse. We revealed horses carved into the stairs of the old staircase. It was there many years, but it was all behind a wall, so we didn't actually know it was all there. Then we kind of started delving into the whole the history of horses and mythological, and we said, like, this would be actually a great way of combining the history of that and food, and connect with the whole food scene, and that's kind of where it kind of stemmed from, the name Enbarr,
Yeah, and yeah, it's really interesting because I feel like your story of even coming to be here in this building is a great one as well. Like it's kind of a full circle and so on as well. Yeah,
so it's I've kind of spent most of my Australian life within this building, and I've come back full circle to owning it. So, I think it's really part of it is why it works so well,
Yeah, that's right. It's a really beautiful location right on the corner. I mean, it's a real classic Australian pub, isn't it?
It is, and we have like the little nod to Irish pubs at the wooden front. If you notice from the outside, flower pots and that goes with it as well. But like it is definitely it's kind of a good mix of an Australian pub, hotel, and an Irish pub. So it's quite good.
And let's talk about the food at Enbarr, seeing as this is where we're sitting now. It's Irish with a modern twist. What does that mean for you?
So what it is, right? So it's not. So when we think of Irish food, in general, in Australia, most common connection is Irish pubs. They have your beef and Guinness stews, your Irish casseroles, your Irish stews, your pies. That kind of hearty kind of meals. It's always been connected with good Irish pub fare. But we, as Irish people, have travelled the world. Even people Irish that have been, we've come back. Ireland is a melting pot of restaurants at the minute, and it's not just Irish food. It's all sorts of food. But what is happening now is the resurgence in Ireland, where you go back even further before your traditional Irish pubs to like back in the day, where everything was pickled and it was stuff was foraged, and it was all go back to the earths and the soils, and so we're infusing smoke and little bit like that. So it's kind of bringing in those kind of, elements to kind of elevate the food a little bit, and not just be your traditional, pub fare. And that's what Enbarr is. It's not fine dining. It's just kind of like upper casual, dining. So it's up, elevated, and it's just putting a point of difference. And it's kind of like a retraining the mind, really, because people come with the expectation that it's going to be that kind of, kind of gimmicky kind of food, but it's actually not. It's more of a refined, and everything. Every dish is thought through. Every dish is connected with a bit of a theme and a story, and connected to like how it's cooked and how it's presented.
Yeah. So maybe can you just give me some examples of those dishes?
So like the salmon of knowledge. I'd say like a smoked gin salmon, and we cure it in it's a Drumshambo gin. And we cure it over a couple of days, and we kind of slice it out, and it's like a smoked salmon, but it's a cured salmon, and it's we smoke it ourselves, and it's not like your smoked salmon that you get, that you actually buy at the shop. It's actually done in house, and that's kind of one of the dishes. That's like the salmon of knowledge is where like Fionn, he went back and he was cooking a fish, and when he went the fish jumped out this water. And when he burned his finger and he stuck in his mouth, but the fish is where all the knowledge came from. So that's where the salmon of knowledge story comes from. So it's kind of like a bit of the smoke and story, and so each dish has a bit of a connection to Irish mythology.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So what's the best way for people to approach the menu to get that real sense? Do you have smaller dishes, or is it a shared menu?
So we have like some entrees that we advise to share. We always advise people to have a little soda bread and their little small little loaf, very traditional kind of food back in Ireland. When everyone has one of them, we would advise to kind of maybe share an entree or have an entree each, or even bigger tables share a couple, but then everyone has a main and then you share the sides. The sides are like definitely like you got creamy mash, gratin potato, with vegetables. It's just really that Irish hearty food, and then the main course then is like you've got your the beef bull of coulis. It's like an eye fillet with charred onions, onion puree, jus. Like it's very, very homely, wintry kind of food, and it all really goes well together. And we got the Oisín's banquet, which is like Oisín was he was a warrior poet he met this girl, and she brought him to Tiernan Og. Tiernan Og was like a fantasy land back in and after these warriors come from battle, they have a feast, and one of the dishes is called Oisín's feast, and it's like a chicken, heirloom tomatoes, heirloom carrots, and like jus and gravy, and it all ties in with that kind of story as well. So it's all kind of integrated. So yeah, definitely on that kind of Irish style kind of homely, hearty food, but not just your, roast dinner,
And the fit out is really beautiful as well. It's very muted coloured. Is it grey, or is it kind of a green?
It's actually a green, greeny kind of grey. Yeah, it's we had originally planned to keep the bar, which we kept the other bar. There was a bar here originally, but didn't quite make the 30-year journey. Was built back in Dublin back in the day, but it didn't quite actually. They brought it out. But out the other side in the bar, we managed to salvage that. So we utilised some of the wood from in there to make it bigger and longer. So that bar inside in the main bar is from that. But everything else is pretty much brand new. But we try to just kind of elevated. I said, try not to be that cliche Irish restaurant, and just subtle nods to Enbarr and things like that. Like, so yeah,
it's really beautiful. It feels very. It's quite muted but natural and sophisticated, and
yeah.
Are these kind of the light sconces? Are they kind of like rocks or what? I don't know. Am I looking into it too much?
Honestly, it was one of those things we were looking and going, they actually look quite well. Like they kind of look like a solstice, like a
yes, or an eclipse or something.
An eclipse,
yeah.
So that's kind of we went down that route.
I love that.
But it's like we're at a strange time of the day where we're in between getting dark, the sun's going down and getting dark. And when you hit it, the room is such a lovely room when it gets completely dark. Like it's lovely during the day, but at night time it's such the atmosphere in here is unreal.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
And you've got Enbarr knives. That's like flash.
We've got our own engraved Enbarr knives, steak knives.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're
and
gorgeous.
Glassware.
Oh, and glassware. Yeah.
Coasters.
It's all so nice. Wow. And it kind of looks like the moon, that projection onto the wall. It's amazing.
Every day is a full moon in Enbarr.
Yeah. And I've seen that that projection. I think in your Instagram where there's a storytelling time. Do they do it from that corner?
We do it called Rekindling.
Oh.
So Rekindling is a night we have in here. It's one Wednesday every month, where it's basically it's a storytelling night, and people come up and tell a story. Each night we've got a theme, and we get some speakers to come up and tell their own story of that theme. You know, and it goes on for about 2 hours, but it's actually a really good way of. People have been very nervous to get up and tell their story, but then you've got a room of people that really want to hear a story, and it just really embraces what the person, and they've come out and they've really got a lot out of it.
Yeah.
And the first night obviously was it was kind of hard to get a few speakers up and running. Now we've got a list of mile long people because it's the same people come back all the time. It's really good, but that kind of ties in with the whole Irish, the storytelling. You know, we do like to talk a lot.
Yes, that's right.
So it kind of, it ties in with that, and it's been really popular, and it's not just for Irish, like a lot of locals as well. So it's gaining traction. It's really good.
I feel like, we were saying this before we started recording, that people are really crying out for stories these days, and to have a sense of belonging and community, and I think those kinds of evenings create that feeling. Yeah,
they want to come out. People want something to do when they go out as well. I think it's all right to catch up at a pub with a friend, which is great, and all that, or a restaurant. But these kind of nights are new now. They when people go out, like I said, they want more memorable nights. And that's why the nights are getting more popular. It's definitely something that we've noticed across all our venues, that it's even the other bar, the trivia is flying. They just need to go to an event and not just rock up and have a bite to eat and a few drinks. It's got more than that,
Yeah.
People want a bit more value for money as well.
Yeah. So you were saying before about the bar that came from Dublin. So when they built this, was this always an Irish?
This was formerly called the Palace Hotel. I think it was back in the 1930s, and then in 1990, then they turned it into an Irish pub, and that's called the Quiet Man.
Quiet Man, yeah.
And they brought the bar out then, and we just salvaged that part of it,
Okay. That's a big effort to bring a bar from.
Look, you wouldn't probably get away with it these days, like back then when transport was cheap and bringing it out would be fine. You could find plenty of carpenters to put it together, but nowadays it's not as easy as that, and everything's getting expensive. But they did a fair effort to do it anyway, all the same,
And your role, because you're a trained chef, you're a chef, but you have a head chef, Declan.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Look, I think with Declan is Declan, luckily him being Irish is he's able to. We have ideas, and it's. We also have other venues as well, but we have ideas of what we want the food, and Declan's great. He's very good, very good reader of what we actually want and actually what we talk about, and actually put it on a plate, brings it live, and actually he's the kind of go between to the kitchen team. He also, obviously, as well, he comes with ideas too. But it was just great to actually have someone like that can understand what we want and work with us and be able to master, and again work with the front of house team as well. So we're not always here, but it's just good to have someone that really knows and knows how we work, as a team.
And you come from a really beautiful part of the world,
yeah.
And you started your chef life at 16.
16, yeah. I started in the kitchen washing dishes. That was that's how I started off, and then I wasn't there for too long when I was going like, what are those guys in the white jackets doing? So I kind of jumped in and started giving them a hand with weddings and stuff, and started cooking, and it just kind of went from there.
How do you say the name of your is it Navan?
Navan.
Navan.
County Meath, yeah.
Yeah, County Meath.
The Royal County.
Yeah, the Royal County, I know, so beautiful. I was there in the 90s, which is a long time ago. But I just remember just lush green, I was nearby when we went to Newgrange and staying with a family in Malahide. And we went on a tour of the Guinness factory and had a pint of Guinness at the end, which I don't think I was as much into perhaps as I might be now. But in my early 20s. But
it's definitely it's not. Although Guinness is growing in the younger. Like there's a lot more younger people now drink Guinness than there ever was.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't have drank Guinness when I was younger. Definitely not. You know. That's as an Irishman. But even here, like I've noticed in St Patrick's Day, we had quite a busy pub and. A lot of the local young Aussies are embracing pint of Guinness.
You have it on tap in the bar.
We have it on tap. We have it on tap there.
Oh, and is it Irish Guinness?
It is. It's brewed here.
Yeah.
It is not bad. It's closest we got. Our taps that we brought out in the bar, we've brought them from Ireland. They're like a double Guinness tap. Oh. So it's that all helps with the pour and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's close enough. As close as you're going to get. We do go through quite a few barrels a week. So, someone likes it.
Yeah. And so just going back to you, so you started off in the kitchen and you saw what the chefs were doing. What appealed to you about that? Well,
job? I think it was for me. It wasn't. It was like not that it was set hours. I liked that lifestyle. I liked that you weren't set to certain days. It wasn't mundane, Monday to Friday. It was like flexible. As well as it was. I actually liked the culture of the kitchen. I think it really suited me. Going back the teamwork, the camaraderie, even just the learning about the food, and it wasn't something I reckon I initially I took to it. I think I actually, not that I had the interest in it, I probably was just good at it. Without really falling. It was only when I came to Australia and travelled. I worked at a few different places. It was only when I came to Australia and went back that I really found a love for it. So that was when I was 22 at the time. Even though I'd been working in kitchens the whole way along, it was probably only when after I'd travelled around and worked in a few restaurants in Australia that I realised that it wasn't, because probably back then, back in the 90s, there would have been most kind of menus would have been similar in Ireland, and it was when I ventured out and realised there was so much more in all these other places, and that's when I really fell in love with it. And then I came back and worked in Navan in a restaurant called Zucchini's. We opened it up. They've won plenty of awards since then. And my owner and boss chef at the time, Paul McCullough, he taught me a lot. And every week was like we used to go to the farms and learn about the herbs, and next week we'd be going somewhere else to the markets, and it was just that whole interest that interested me, like the specialist each week. So it wasn't the mundane. You're in a kitchen all that wasn't. It was just interesting, and that's when when I really kind of fell in love with it. And then I came back out to Australia the second time around, and like I said, I was the head chef at the Quiet Man here for about 4 years. But then I always wanted a restaurant, and then I realised that there isn't much money in the restaurants. So that's when we went and opened pubs. We opened a pub, went to the other side, and the manager, and opened a pub instead. And here we are. I finally got the restaurant open.
Yes.
So it's something that we've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And we finally have one. So.
Congratulations. I mean, it is huge. It is. I think it's not every chef's dream, but a mini chef's dream of having their own restaurant.
Exactly. Yeah.
And to work through all of those different stages is really something. You would know, with all your experience, what does a successful pub or restaurant look like in 2026, do you think?
Look, I think if you're not going grey in your hairs, it's quite good. But no, look, honestly, just building a good team, having a good core staff. Like it's obviously profits where it's at, but at the same time, if we're not about that. We're about satisfaction. And I think, as long as you can have the business running and make it work for yourself, we can have we're like, as long as everyone has a bit of a good home life as well, it's not about everyone working all the time, but good balanced lifestyle. That's the kind of key plan. It doesn't always work like that because, as you know, hospitality is a hard game in Melbourne at the minute. But that's kind of what success looks like. Having a team that are happy and come to work and everyone, gets on well and whatever. And that's exactly where it's at. So yeah, that's you say it doesn't always happen like that, but that's that's what success looks like, I think.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I've worked in hospitality, front of house, for quite a few years when I was younger, and I was just talking to someone recently about how often there's a divide between front of house and back of house, or front of house and kitchen, and it's really important that there isn't a divide. There has to be that. I think, as you're saying, like to have that kind of harmony between the two makes it a better experience for everybody. How do you that's quite an old school thing, though.
It's good. That's where Declan comes in. He doesn't quite. When we have a conversation, a chat, he has both teams involved. It's not just we talk to the chefs, we talk to the kitchen. He does it together, and he understands what happens front of house, and same as the restaurant managers as well. They have a catch up and whatever else, but definitely key is the chef coming out and actually not just say do this, but actually teach them and learn them like what is actually going on and why we're doing this. We're not doing it for no reason.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, that definitely helps, because it can happen very easily if your eye's not on the ball. Have it that split, and you don't want that split, because that's when people know.
Yeah. And what brought you to Australia?
I actually originally had a job in America in a restaurant up in New York, and that kind of fell through last minute. So it was kind of, I had my bags packed. I told everyone I was leaving. I said, I better go somewhere. So there was a bit of an influx to Australia of people at the time.
Yeah.
So I just said, look, I'll just go there and give it a go for a year. And I was here for a year, worked in a few different places around here, Melbourne, Cairns, Sydney, and did my year. Wanted to go home, and I was offered a chance to stay a couple of times, and I just, I'm happy with the year. I want to go home. That was it in my head. But, it was the regret the minute I landed, going, what did I do this for? Why didn't I just give it a go? And I just thought, I never settled back there. And
how long were you back there?
I think I was back there about 3 years. But
Yeah.
I spent 2 years of that looking to get a visa to come back out, but I'd already used it up. So when I came back out, then I came out on a holiday. I packed all my bags and my box and knives and left it at home. Came out on a holiday just to look to see if there's anyone get work or sponsored, and I walked into the Quiet Man and pretty much got offered a sponsorship that day to call my mother and say, hey, send my knives and uniforms out.
Yeah.
So she wasn't too happy about it, but I think it was the right decision.
Yeah.
In the long run.
So you oversee, you own, or you have a few different venues. Yeah.
Jimmy O'Neill's and Naughty Nancy's in St Kilda.
Oh yeah, that's right. Do you have to spread yourself over all three? Or?
Yeah, look, we have my business partner's Anita, and then I've got an operations team below me that are quite very, very good hands-on, and we kind of divide and conquer. We know we can't be everywhere all the time, but there is certain days, probably once a week, probably we're all in the same room. That does happen, whether it be in this venue, whether it be St Kilda, Chapel Street. There's probably nearly one, if not one, there's 4 or 5 hours in the week that we're actually all together. We do catch up at meetings all the time. We have plans, so it's all kind of like, it is a proper management team that we have in place. And each venue then will have their own team in each venue. So
do you still get on the tools?
Oh, I love to do it. Yes. Yeah. They don't like me in there.
Yeah.
No, I do. We do a lot of catering as well that we get involved in. So it's kind of good to get involved in that side of things, because it doesn't mean I've got to stretch the team in the venues, so I kind of get involved there. But definitely have a big, get stuck into the kitchen in Enbarr there, and like I said, the more so now, like with the restaurant, I'm more, heavily involved. Pubs kind of have the management, the chefs in place, but the restaurant, I feel it needs to be more guidance of what we actually want, and that's why I'm more involved in there.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got a good team of chefs in there, and they know exactly what we want.
Yeah. Whatever they're cooking now, that smells really delicious. Is that meat?
I don't know.
Oh, that smells so good.
I'm sure it's something I'll have to go and have a look at. They're getting ready for tonight's service.
So, I guess with you've had a lot of different experiences, and here and in Ireland. What would your advice be to a young person starting out as a chef?
Starting as a chef, look, I think starting as a chef, if you really do enjoy it, and you actually communicate and say that you want to get involved, show interest. I think sometimes hospitality can be tough because the more effort you put in, sometimes you're not worth your salt sometimes, and some employers might see that and take advantage. But I think definitely if you're not happy in a role and you really want to learn and you're not learning and you're just doing the same mundane thing, maybe move on to find someone that will appreciate it, because I guarantee if you found an owner like myself that would embrace someone that wanted to do and learn, we'd be more than happy to teach, because it's becoming rarer and rarer.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely reach out, and if you're not happy, move on to the place you're happy with.
Yeah.
I think definitely starting off as a chef these days conditions are a lot better than it was when I started off, and I was happy. So so it's there's obviously no skill mentality. Us chefs, like, we kind of had to break the kind of thought cycle, and especially becoming an owner, you can't always just get away with it, and you have to kind of, and that's one of the biggest things I've had to learn is probably, everything's not built the same, and that's kind of something that, but definitely as a young person starting out, you definitely some really, really good venues out there that will really appreciate your staff, and find one that you like, and you learn what you want to learn.
Thank you.
No worries.
So great.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Conversation with a Chef with James Gallagher at Enbarr in Kensington. You can check out all the goodness on Instagram at Enbarr_Melbourne. That's ENBARR_Melbourne. And if you'd like to hear more stories from other chefs, I'm also on Instagram at Conversation with a Chef. You can read this chat online at www.conversationwithachef.com, and of course you can follow me on Apple and Spotify podcasts. I would absolutely love it if you told a friend about my chats. I still think it's the best way to get these delicious stories out into the world. Once again, thanks so much for listening. Have a great day, and bon appetit.